Breaking news with backlash growing on Capitol Hill, including among Republicans after the U.S. and Israel launched strikes on Iran without congressional approval. Democratic Senator from Virginia, Mark Warner, joins me now. He is the vice chair of the Senate Intelligence Committee, and he joins me now by phone, also a member of the Gang of Eight. Senator, we're grateful for your time. So when, sir, did you hear of the strikes? What were you told was the justification?
Well, first, the consultation this time was much better than any of the previous Trump military ventures. That being said, there was not, to my mind, any evidence given of imminent harm to Americans or imminent threat to our country. So this very much appears to be a decision by President Trump of a war of choice. And the fact, I agree with Chris Matthews earlier, it is not optional that the president has to come before the American people and make a case and then ask Congress. He does not have the right to arbitrarily do this. And even the messaging in the last week, at one point, the president was talking about getting rid of Iran's nuclear capabilities. Of course, he had claimed 7 months ago that our strike at that point obliterated Iran's nuclear capabilities, which it did not. And unfortunately, the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency got fired for telling the truth. But that was going to be one reason. Then the reason morphed into, well, Iran's got ballistic missile capabilities that could hit American troops in the region or ally Israel. And then in the last 24 hours, you've seen the language change to regime change. So I don't have the foggiest idea what the goal is here, but I do know this, and the president himself has acknowledged this. He's chosen to put American troops in harm's way, and even he expects that there'll be American casualties. For a war of choice without an imminent threat to America is, extraordinary in itself. And I think, again, the president, maybe believes that it's all going to be as easy as a simple bombing run 7 months ago against the Iran nuclear facility, or the brilliant execution by our military of extracting Maduro, starting down what could be a engaged conflict with Iran for who knows how long. You are talking about something that is really destabilizing and dangerous.
And to your point, Trump himself has used the word war to describe this operation, obviously did not get congressional approval, that war would require. And now you have Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, who's calling for Congress to come back to Washington right away, vote on a war powers resolution. Do you, sir, believe there are votes for that resolution to pass? And are you even confident that the administration would comply if it did? And how would that even work, practically speaking, since military operations are already underway?
I do think we should come back, and I think we should vote. And I think, I can't predict the outcome of that vote. But remember, the War Powers Act was set up, somewhat for these kind of incidents. But normally the case is a president reacts to something or some incident takes place, and he or she does not have the time to build the case. This was not anything that was imminent. This was clearly a buildup of literally weeks. I mean, if the president had chosen in January, when the Iranian people were out in the street en masse, to take an action at that point, I still think he'd have to make the case, but there was at least outside forces that were potentially forcing his hand. I would quickly point out that one of the reasons he wasn't able to take action at that point was that the aircraft carrier that would have been key to that was off the coast of Venezuela on another one of his military ventures. And our allies in the region, like NATO, was completely focused on his crazy notions about Greenland. So, the fact that he now has spent months building up forces, and he believes he set a red line because he said, "Don't worry, we're going to take care of the Iranian people." Well, that was his choice, and now to launch this without making the case to the American public, or for that matter to the world, when we know Iran has got proxy forces in the region, we know. We have seen, I think, a decrease. Obviously, the FBI has been hollowed out in a number of ways. With Kash Patel's leadership, we've got the Director of National Intelligence, obsessed about 2020 election theories to try to convince the president that she's loyal to him in terms of his obsession about the 2020 election. God forbid that Iranian proxies or people potentially inspired by Iran take action if we're not fully prepared. And I do just hope and pray that some of my Republican friends will say, is this just a bridge too far when we've got the potential and who knows of American casualties? No, God willing, it would be great if Iran has done one set of retaliation, although they've struck 4 other Arab countries in the region, and this ends. But I think it would be a fool's errand to assume that's going to be the case.
And that may not be the case, sir, in part because we are just getting word, and this is attributable to Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. We have not confirmed that here at MS Now. But he said there are many signs that Iran's supreme leader has been killed. How does that create a further hotbed in the region? What would you expect if it turns out to be true?
I would concur almost with most American leadership, both parties. The Iran regime is awful to its own people. It is a stabilizing force. It has created death and terror around the Middle East. But the idea that simply eliminating the supreme leader is going to lead to a regime change that is actually beneficial to America or to our allies in the region, I wish I could tell you that I've seen intelligence that says we take out the head of the snake and suddenly there's going to be a flowering of the people who are out on the street suddenly taking power in Iran. I have seen no such intelligence. And, my understanding is some of this was, Israel's timetable was dictated by a meeting or something, but there are so many questions that, again, American people deserve answers for. Most of those sailors in the region are home ported in Norfolk, Virginia. I'm going to be down in Norfolk and Virginia Beach tomorrow. I'm sure I'm going to run into the parents and loved ones of those sailors. They're going to say, "What in the heck is going on? And are my kids or friends safe?" Now, I trust our sailors to do their duty, but they sure as heck are owed a rational plan with clear goals and a proof that this was absolutely necessary because the imminent threat to America was so dangerous we had to put these sailors and soldiers in harm's way. To do anything less than that would be disrespectful to their service.
Absolutely. Let's tack on an end game and an exit strategy as well. Vice Chairman on the Senate Intelligence Committee, Senator Mark Warner, thank you, sir, for your time. Appreciate that.